it's a pleasure to see all those who travel from far away to come just for a couple of hours to listen to this. So, you know, it was about 7 years ago I was taking the train back to New York with Dilip Mukherjee. And then the conversation went to the Delhi School of Economics. And then he went on to explain what it is, what it does. And I said, yeah, I need to do this. So that's how I started thinking about this project. And, you know, I'm glad to see that I'm getting there. So let me first talk about what it is. So what are we trying to do? So we are opening a graduate school of economics and management. In 2014, there will be 2 masters, you know, business administration and another one in mathematics, economics and statistics. This one already exists. We are just expanding it a little bit more. And in 2015, we are going to open 2 other masters in public administration and in development studies. And then in 2018, we'll have a small PhD program in economics and management. And hopefully in 2024, we are going to sort of close the loop by having another graduate program in social science and management. So that's the first big component of the project, graduate education in economics and management. The second component is a very active, engaging, you know, following Paul's suggestion, a number of research centers on campus. So one already exists, and we need to strengthen and expand it. It's the Institute for Empirical Research in Political Economy, which is going to do public policy analysis and governance and democracy and economic development. And then we are going to have an institute that will help support the private sector, that we call the Institute for Finance and Management, that will do market research and marketing strategies, financial and legal services, and human resource management. So, and then because we need students and faculty to have a great sense of the context, to embed social science research in the historical context, we will open an Institute for Institute for African Studies that will focus on African history and culture, African anthropology and sociology, African languages, literature, and performance. And this is also important because we need to have a very vibrant social life on campus, like most you know, American universities. So, and hopefully at some point in time, we are very interested in actually develop a teaching tool, a learning tool that we are going to call the Museum for Social Discovery, which is going to be a way to teach key social science concepts in a very practical way. You know, I don't think, I think it's a concept that, in fact, we hope to pioneer, not only here, but elsewhere. Now, another important and extremely crucial aspect of the project is that the African School of Economics is going to be a global university. It's going to be a global university several ways. One way is through academic partnerships. Already we have established, signed partnerships with New Economic School in Moscow and you know, CIDE, Mexico, and I took the opportunity to thank the provost who is here. And then we have University of Ottawa with our friend Vicky Barankis in the audience. And then American University in Cairo, Toulouse School of Economics, Barcelona Graduate School of Economics. And then we are very close to finalize the agreement with Princeton, Rutgers, you know, SOAS, and many other universities in Europe, and hopefully, you know, in Asia as well. So, and each partnership will have like 3 components. The first component will be faculty exchange, student exchange, second component, student exchange. The third component is collaborative research project that spans across continents, and the last one will be joint conferences. And this is very important because, for instance, the 2 partnership we are going to be able to maintain a high standard, a high international standard. We are going to, for instance, make sure that at any point in time, 20% of our student body will be from outside Africa. At the same time, we make sure that at least 20% of our students will spend a semester abroad, in Asia, in Europe, in North America, so that they can actually work with others, you know. And the collaborative research project will be a way, for instance, to sort of develop like research partnerships, research collaboration between our faculty based in Africa and faculty based elsewhere, you know. And this will be very, very important because, you know, especially in developing countries, like in many developing countries, the issues are more or less the same, but the contexts are not exactly identical. So it will be interesting to do that. Now, let me finish this point by stressing what is really unique about the African School of Economics. First, it's an integrated model of graduate training that blend social science and humanities. So, for instance, the way we do this is by making sure that there is a mandatory statistics, economics, and history courses that every single student have to take. So, for instance, to graduate in any program at the African School of Economics, you have to write a history paper. You know, and everyone, regardless, you are graduating in economic history, you have to take statistics. You know, you also have to take economics, regardless. So, and this is a little bit the model of London School of Economics. Okay, we want to push a little bit forward. I really like the idea to have, you know, historians, anthropologists, sociologists sitting side by side with economists, and to be able to really have a richer and a deeper perspective on development issues. But also, you know, given the need of rigorous, you know, training, statistics will be a key component. I already mentioned the fact that, you know, we try to develop worldwide partnerships to make sure that we maintain high standard. And also we want to really put a lot of emphasis on research and consulting by having those 3 centers, you know, on campus. Now, let me tell you more about the place this is going to be happening. So, not very surprisingly, it's going to take place in Benin. You know, it just happened that I'm born there, so what else can I do? So, yeah. But I just happen to be lucky to be born in Benin because, you know, it's a very stable political environment. We have a consolidated democracy, and, you know, it's one of the top countries in Africa in terms of human rights, safety, and rule of law. And also something that we don't talk about enough. Benin has a very strong reputation in academic excellence. So, along with other African countries, you know, Benin has some of the highest concentration of academics in mathematics, economics, and medical sciences. Even if I'm excluded from that group, it's still a very strong group that we can actually build something serious on. And also, we are very lucky to have an official support from the government of Benin, you know, through a letter, a very, you know, strong letter of support from the Prime Minister's office. So, and then it's also taking place at a town called Abomey-Calavi that you don't hear enough about, which is you know, one of the key attributes of Abomey-Calavi. It's 30 minutes from Cotonou, the economic capital of the country. It's on a highway that was just completed. And it's a very modern residential university town. And it also is a major tourist attraction. You know, Ganvier, which is a town built on top of a lake, is called the Venice of Africa. So I'll show you. So for instance, here is a picture of Benin, a picture of Abomey-Calavi. On the far end, you have a lake called the Lake Nokwe. So it's a fantastic view. And then to the right of the lake, you have Ganvier. You know, and as you can see, you know, from that picture, it's a modern university town. And here is the highway I was talking about, which is just completed. And the university will be about half a mile from that highway. So not too far from the highway, not too close or to the highway either. You know. Now, yesterday the architects was so excited. I'm not going to tell you how I met the architects because that's it will be soldier for a book if you want to hear. But anyway, the architect just sent me a video because he wanted so badly to come. But he sent me a video that I'm going to show you in a second about the campus that he's building. It's not finished yet. So so we are able to get a 45-acre land, outside Abomey-Calavi, where the campus is going to be. And modern facilities, library, residential hall, sports, museum, and it's 15 minutes from the campus. Let's see if I can show you. Okay, so here is what the architect sent me to give you a more concrete sense of what the campus is going to look like. So global university, so we have to start with the globe, and then the campus is going to be situated there. You can see the original plan that he provided to us is will cover about 10 hectares, but now we have 18, so we are going to even have more land to work with. So that's what the campus looks like. In terms of design, it's a blend of African and North African architectural culture. So anyway, so that's what he sent us. So in a few minutes, I will show you the different part of the campus. So. Okay, so let's pause here if I can. So we have three parts: residential areas, the research centers, the classrooms, libraries. And we are going to have a botanic garden on campus. So this will be to make the campus a major tourist destination. So beside, and we also want to make sure that most of the bigger classrooms have a unique interior design. We are going to hire local artists and local designers to take care of each of them. And we already have people, for instance, some from Morocco who will be able to play their part. And we are working with a local foundation, like Fondation Zinsou, very much invested in the arts, who's going to help us make this. So this is going to be a very modern facility, and most of the investment will go toward this. But now we want to make sure that when students are there, faculty are there, that they feel very much at home, and also that we have the IT so that we can actually communicate and really work with students from abroad, or students from the university can actually communicate with the faculty. Now, so that's the place where this is going to be happening. Okay, now let me talk about why I think this will work. I mean, as Paul has mentioned earlier, I mean, there is such a huge demand for very strong graduate education in economics and management in Africa. So we find that at minimum every year, at the strict minimum every year, we are going to have 4,500 applicants into our program. How do we find it out? We look at the list of students from Africa who apply for visa to go to US and Canada and UK and France, and we look at how many of them were rejected. If you have enough money to want to travel to UK and US to study, you got rejected, I have an opportunity back home for you. So, okay, those people, assume that only 10% of them are willing to actually come. I think 100% of them will be willing, especially those in economics, will be willing to come. But assume that only 10% is coming, then we have at minimum 1,500 students. Now, the second pool will be those who are in Africa, who want to study and don't even bother applying to go abroad because they don't have the money or they have been rejected. So how do we find out how many of those people are there? So we take our current master's program, how many students we get every year. We get about 75 applicants on average every year for one master program. And they come from 2 countries, Burkina Faso and Benin. We have a couple of students coming from Togo and Niger, but it's mostly Burkina Faso and Benin. So if we multiply the 75 students by 20 countries, like number of countries we want to target minimum, for the African School of Economics, we take into consideration the fact that we are a neighboring country to Nigeria that has huge population, is half of the population of West Africa in general. I mean, as a whole. Then it will be very easy to be able to collect another 3,000 students from that pool, and that get us. We want 200 students, 200 the first year, 400 the second year. We have 4,500 applicants, so that shouldn't be a problem to be able to fill the test. Now, okay, one of the big problems in Africa not only is not about training policymakers, it's also training managers. There is a report by African Manager Initiatives that stress the fact that we have a 1 to 10 manager to worker ratio in Africa, and and they need training, and we only have 30 institutions that offer an MBA in Africa, and less than 10 of them have international standard. So so we need much more than what we have in terms of MBA training. So through partnerships with MBA programs in Europe, in Canada and US, we can actually provide an excellent, high-end training in management that will cover these needs. Now, we mentioned, Paul also mentioned the issue of professional and academics. A lot of progress have been made, but it's still the case that we are still lagging behind. I mean, for instance, 258 impact evaluation studies have been done in Africa since 2004, and only 11% of them have African as a co-author, and so that's a problem, and also the academic presence of Africans in top academic journal is still very limited. So even if a lot of progress has been made, more needs to be done to be able to train first-rate African academics, first-rate professionals, to work with governments, with think tanks, and elsewhere, and so that's very important. So now, we have a revenue strategy that will help convince you that it's a financially sustainable project, but I don't think it's necessary to go through that for the time being. But there's one point that I would like to stress, because this is a very, very important one, is that because we have on campus, research centers, we can actually leverage part of the scholarship fund that we have as a cost recovery initiative. How do we do it? So, for instance, the tuition is about $13,000 or $12,600 on average. So, suppose that we raise $5 million for scholarships. So, if we give scholarships to everyone, then this is going to last 2 years. The 5 million is going to last 2 years. If we give half scholarship to every student, it's going to last, we can cover 416 students. Now, assume that we allow students to work on research project at one of the 3 centers, and then to pay back 5,000 of the revenue that they get. I mean, they're already covered by scholarship. They are covered by not only, they have rooms, their tuition are paid for, everything through the scholarships. But then we just ask them, maybe part of the training, part of their own training, to participate into the research activities. You know, we just ask them to be part of. We can even make the research part of the curriculum. I mean, actually, that's what we have to do. That's what we'll be doing. Make participation in research as part of the training. But then the money that they get out of this will be transferred to the scholarship fund. So it's as if they are paying back. We give them 12,000 and they give us back 5,000. So if we do that, then we can leverage $5 million for over 10 years. Now, assume that, for instance, we take the MBA student. The MBA students, they don't need full coverage in terms of tuition. You know, we may give them half tuition scholarships. So if we do that, then we can leverage the 5 million over 20 years. So assume that we raise not 5 million but 10 or 15, then we can be covered in terms of scholarship for 30, 40, 60 years. You know, so the fact that we have research centers, that we have the ability to leverage some of the resources that we get from research centers through a tuition cost recovery program will make us sustainable. You know, so that's a very, very important point. Now, so another reason why I think this will work, not only we have a market for it, not only we have some, you know, nice ideas, you know, to get everybody to pay and so on, but we have a track record, you know. So in 2004, I set up the Institute for Empirical Research in Political Economy. You know, the revenue of that center is now about $2 million. In 2005, it was about $40,000. You know, because the World Bank, USAID, the French Development Agency, we have contracts with them, and we use the resources, we use the, you know, the overhead from the contract we have with them to not only provide scholarships to students, but also to pay for staff and so on. You know, so for instance, here is the building, the current building where IREP is located. So 5-story building, a lot of classrooms and so on. And it's, you know, on the right, the picture on the right gives you the location in Calabi. So, so that's what it is. So, so here a picture of the board of directors of the institute. You know, so for instance, the ambassador of Benin in Nigeria is on the board, and the chief of staff of the Ministry of Health, which is far left, is also on the board, and so on. And here is the staff. They just had a meeting talking about you know, human resource management issues. And then we have students. So we have students. We have about 25 students a year. So everything I've talked about is something that we already piloted, something that we already done. You know, we have done it in one program. Now, after about 7 years, we wanted to expand it to more programs. And when we started this, I didn't come to the World Bank to present it. Now I have, you know. So that's another reason why this should work. Now, so I mean, Paul said that if you want to do something big, this is the room to come. You know, this is the place to come. So I've been here, so it should work. Okay. So now progress report. So, as I mentioned earlier, you know, the Institute for Empirical Research in Political Economy, launched in 2004, has 25 students a year, 33 academics of African, European, and American origin that provide teaching and training. So we have a master's program in public economics and applied statistics, and about 10 to 15 of them are holding currently positions. Some of the former students are holding positions at the World Bank, think tanks, and top government jobs across Africa. We have one working on education in Dakar, in Bamako, in the Gambia, and so on. We also have several students who are placed in PhD programs in Europe and in US. So we have conducted about 38 large-scale empirical studies, and also, you know, as a reward for all of this, we have been selected for think tank initiative with funding from the IRDC, and you know, and we are doing quite well financially. Not well enough for us to fund the whole program of African School of Economics, but you know, so we are doing very well. Okay, now ASC. ASC, we have the governance structure is not finalized, but it's almost done. We have a board of directors. We have a very, very impressive board of directors, equally impressive international advisory board, and a transition team. I don't know how to qualify the transition team. It's an opportunity to thank Robin here, who has been helping since she was hired about 3 months ago. And then I already mentioned about the campus. The campus is almost done, and it's going to be a fantastic place to be. So count on me. So in terms of academic planning, the curriculum is more or less finished. So we need some fine tuning, working with our academic partners, especially Princeton. And then in terms of partnerships, the aim is to have 20 partnerships. So at the beginning, we had to explain, why don't you come to us? Now for the last 2 weeks, people are coming to us. We heard about this. Why don't you consider us? Why not?